All right. Good morning, Rev. no, this is the Metal Gear Red podcast. That's the name we decided. It might change. I might end up stupid. Well, we're trying the podcast format. We're gonna see how we like it and how you like it, and yeah, it's that simple. We have some topics we'd like to get into. And the first one is the meeting between Trump and Putin. So that's going on in Alaska. I've been told by a lot of Russians that Alaska belongs to Russia. I've actually been told that, and I don't know how to feel about it. I'm actually I'm it's like nothing's out of negotiation for me. When we take power, maybe it's a bargaining chip. Potentially. Maybe it could be a joint zone. I don't know, like a joint sovereignty zone, some kind. But anyway, there's a lot of speculation about what is going on. So Chris, is this like a breakthrough moment? Are we going to see the finally peace between the U.S. and Russia and the end
I
of RussiaGate?
I don't think I think we well, I don't think so. We'll see the end of Russiagate. I think the media is hysterical. That's why Putin's face, he was kind of like so shocked at the media all like attacking him immediately, like, why are you killing civilians? What are you doing here? And he was like, whoa, chill. What my God, I just came here. You know, I think the breakthrough was okay, Putin's finally on American territory again. He hadn't been here for about a decade. So it was a big deal for him to be in the United States. Of course, Alaska is very historic because of Russian Alaska, a lot of history, Russian Orthodox Church. It was discovered basically Russian exploration and all that. So, actually, the USSR towards the end even commemorated the Russian Alaska experience and the exploration, the governors, the Sitka fortress, everything. So it was very meaningful in that sense. Of course, I love the fact that when Trump and Putin went up on the kind of like platform they had built, they flew the B-2 over him and they
That
had
yeah, that was so like out of pocket. That was I don't know, like that was like actually a threat, right?
No, of course it was because they had
Yeah.
mentioned Moscow, get ready. What we did to Tehran, we're gonna do to you. It's like, what?
Yeah, that was actually crazy. I don't know if that's like actually if this is not all like pre-planned, that's crazy. Like Putin, if Putin didn't know that was gonna happen,
He
that's
kind of like
funny.
looked up and was like, what? Like
Yeah. Yeah, that was
that was pretty wild. But listen, I mean, I just spoke with our good friends here in Moscow. I've been on the calls, I've been on the media back and forth. It was half the time it was allotted for, and the dinner was canceled. So whether it was successful or not, I think that says something.
oh no.
Sort of Sovietologists, we know what the meaning of this kind of stuff is. So I think that, dinner canceled half the time. I think that they might, let's be honest, a breakthrough in terms of what Trump desires, which is the Nobel Peace Prize and peace in Ukraine, probably not there. But in terms of kind of warming relations bilaterally, possible. We heard some people online saying that possibly they're going to reestablish direct flights from the US to Russia. There's going to
Oh,
be
that'd be
some
sick.
that would be great instead of going through Istanbul or
Mhm.
Dubai or Qatar or wherever the hell else. But I think that ultimately Russia maintains that the root causes need to be addressed. You've been to the Donbass, I've been to the Donbass. The root causes need to be addressed. We need to figure out that any peace requires that, Ukraine's membership in NATO not happen, Ukraine be neutral. Ukraine can't, for example, oppress the Russian people. The Russian cannot ban the Russian language, cannot, destroy the Russian Orthodox Church. So ultimately, and of course, it has to preserve the history, which includes the Soviet history. You got to keep the monuments. You got to keep the graves of Soviet soldiers. They liberated that territory. Along with Ukrainian partisans. And you can't rehabilitate Bandera and all of these Nazi collaborators and fascists. So
There's
ultimately, go to the root causes.
there's no way that's happening with the current.
No, no,
There's
no,
no
no.
way. I mean, also, it's interesting because it's like that B-2 bomber kind of set the tone, in my opinion, for like where Trump is coming from. Like his leverage is basically like, I'm gonna bomb you if you don't give me peace. I feel like that's kind of what he's alluding to. and that's not going to work either, you know? So
Nope. Russia has more nuclear weapons than the United States, and any threats of that scale will just, we're going to be in Doctor Strangelove again. Remember Dead Hand and all of these systems that exist? Listen, Putin and others have said it correctly. There can be no vision of a world without Russia.
yeah.
We cannot think about a world without Russia. And so any thought of crossing that red line is going to bring us all to the precipice. So
I have to admit something, you know, I really love the idea, it's not a fact. I love this kind of dream of Russia and the US as friends, and then Europe is in the corner, you know? It's like I fuck with that a lot. Like I love this idea of like Europe sitting in the corner seething while this is in Alaska of all places. It's like the Siberian land bridge, you know, like the Wild West meets the Siberian Arctic tundra, and it's like kind of based, and I like it. Um, and I know that's not what's going on necessarily, but it does evoke a pleasant feeling, you know. And if this were to succeed, I mean, that would be great for us. We would love an easier ability to travel to Russia without harassment because it's like it's a historical. It's almost like sacred for if you're an American communist. It is. I mean, we have people buried there, you know. Uh,
absolutely. Right at the Kremlin, right on the Kremlin wall
and
necropolis.
right there. I mean, that's where Lenin is. That's where Lenin's mausoleum is. To say nothing of the history, which is very important. There's also a living fact. You know, we've got so many friends there, like the KPRF and other friends, great friends.
Great friends.
Um, you know, so yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I mean, you look at the wider geopolitics, it's a complicated situation. Like, it would benefit us immensely for this peace deal to go through, immensely, but you know, geopolitically for the multipolar world, would it mean Russia might abandon China or more, you know, move away even more from Iran? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it would mean.
I don't think so. I
No.
don't think so because those countries have stood with them, have stood with Russia at the most critical moment. So there's nowhere where the DPRK, China, Iran are going. They're not going anywhere. And if that's going to be a precondition for good relations with the United States, they won't tolerate that. That's just too much to ask for. The US has to accept that Russia is now very close. I mean, basically, it's as close as you can get to a union state with the DPRK. And
Wow.
it has very close relations with China and with Iran. Not to mention, the DPRK has helped to liberate Russian territory. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about they're already going to start building monuments to that. I mean, can you imagine joint Russian DPRK monuments all throughout this country, especially in Kursk, and probably they're going to have them built in Russia and in the DPRK. I mean, that's historic. So there's no change in that. And of course, Trump himself personally still admires Kim Jong-un, even though there's no real talks at this point, at least that are public. But I can say that once this administration comes to its end and we have new elections in the US and a new administration comes, which could likely be a Democratic one, I can rapidly see an escalation
Oh, we're
against
cooked.
Russia. We're
We're
cooked.
cooked.
So that's why I think Putin and not only Putin, but Kirill Dmitriev, Ushakov, Lavrov, they all understand this, that the United States is very fickle in terms of its political system. And that fickleness has long-term immense consequences for other countries like Russia. So they could say, okay, we want sanctions relief, probably pull all their money out and then just wait for the next the next administration to come and impose sanctions, but they'll
So
have money back.
it is pretty crazy though, because it's like on the one hand, we don't have illusions about the Trump administration's intentions here. We think they're probably playing a game for sure on behalf of the, you know, the real government, the shadow government, you know,
The
to
deep
talking
state.
to the Patriots, like from Metal Gear Solid, right? But it is still crazy seeing like the Democrats and like left liberals protesting this with Ukraine flags and shit. You know, it's like, and that's actually like, you know, and this is going to allude to the next thing we're going to talk about, but it's like I can't believe there's people that are like, yeah, we're gonna be in a popular front with these people. Like, because to me, that Ukraine flag is like that's a hard line in the sand. It's like a hard line. That's not like, oh, we just kind of disagreed. As no, that's like a fundamental, like you are literally a Schmittian enemy if you're taking a stance of I don't want peace, I want to continue funding the Azov Nazis.
And some of them
And
called themselves anti-fascists today. Some of them were openly saying in
but it's
media,
like,
we're anti-fascists.
how can there be something called the left if it includes that? That's what I'm saying. The current political spectrum is bankrupt. How can I share a political aisle with those people? It's like a fundamental thing. Like I will not compromise even 1% with anyone who like is okay with like people that go to those protests. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, Carlos, you talk about the purity fetish. I feel like I'm a Puritan on this issue.
No, no, I get you. I was extremely uneasy. I had to speak in Chicago recently, and it was a scene that was extremely foreign to us. As soon as I walked in, it was a lot of images of Musk, Trump, and Putin depicted as various key figures of the Third Reich, and it was stomach turning. It was stomach turning because it's so contradictory and incoherent. What they don't realize is that they're symboling and the aesthetics and the appearance is anti-fascism, but the content is as fascist as you can possibly get. Not just in terms of the legacy of the Ukrainian state and how it sees itself in light of its past, going back to the to Bandera and literal Ukrainian Nazism, but in terms of the present context, you know, NATO's the vanguard of modern day fascism. And if you stand with any country that's within the NATO orbit, you're standing on the side of fascism. And if you do that under the banner of being anti-fascist, I mean, it's hard to see anyone be more deluded than those poor souls who think of that. And those are the sorts of characters that then turn around and say, "Oh, the ACP is fascist. The ACP is this. The ACP is that." Well, you friends, you're literally siding with the vanguard of fascism and the vanguard of the deep state's
It's like
project.
Zionism to me. It's like if you're
Yeah,
an Israel
it's
supporter, it's the
basically the
same
same.
shit.
What you guys don't understand though is what the liberal protesters pointed out today is that once Russia takes Ukraine, Alaska is next, and then Europe, and then the rest of the United States. So
Fuck.
no, I'm in full agreement.
Hey, if I
That's
have
a
to
hard
stop paying
line.
taxes, fucking fine. Honestly, like,
True.
no, I mean, look, it's cynical, but it's like, I'm gonna fearmonger over Russia taking U.S. territory. I feel like U.S. territory is already being occupied by Zionism.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Tell me another country in the world where a foreign leader can come, not meet the president, go to Congress, give a major speech, and leave without ever even interacting with the president of that country.
And notice someone pointed some shit out that's so funny. It's like Putin was getting that treatment by the, which is obviously like if the U.S. government didn't want that to happen, they could have prevented it. They clearly deliberately unleashed those journalists on Putin as like a disrespect, right? But it's like, has Netanyahu ever gotten that treatment anywhere?
Zero.
Ever?
Zero. Never. Never.
It's
Never.
like crazy. And
Never.
I don't know, like the people, I feel like it's sad, but like 22 did cause that's honestly, you think about it. My thing of MAGA communism, that was caused by 20 what happened in 22. Because it's
Yep.
like the friend enemy distinction was literally about the war in Ukraine at that point.
Yeah.
It's like if you were pro Ukraine, I don't care like what label you have. I don't care like what you call yourself. Like I have nothing in common with you. Like literally nothing. Like that
Zero.
is a fault line that like transcends borders. That's like divides everyone and like where they actually stand in the world. Like are you on the side of like this insurgent revolutionary force that's challenging US hegemony unconditionally, regardless of its ideology, regardless of its, political system? Or are you a shill for the current system and Reddit? And like, people may think that that line is arbitrary, but that's the line that decided whether you were going to get banned from all the platforms, whether you're going to get debanked, whether you're going to get assassinated with the help of the MI6 and the CIA. Like that line actually determined everything of political consequence for at least, a few years. So I think that, like that is what shook up the political spectrum to me. Like that, it put everything in the air, Like it made me far more optimistic that you could build bridges with MAGA because that was why. Like that people think like they have this idea that like, oh, you just like are homophobic and transphobic. It's like I don't that means nothing to me. Okay. The reason we sympathize with MAGA isn't because or me, I'm speaking for myself, just myself, especially even before the party. Like it's not because of the culture stuff. It's because of the fucking geopolitics, okay? And this dates back all the way back even to Syria because you had leftists that were sympathizing with the free Syria bullshit, right?
Yeah,
And
left is sympathizing with Daesh.
right. And on the other hand, you had MAGA people that were like defending Assad, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's a much more meaningful distinction. And then could you make observations about the culture war that was that emanated from that? Could you draw patterns and say, hey, there's a reason for this? Maybe. But for me, that wasn't what was fundamental. The fundamental thing was the geopolitics. It's imperial. As a guy, as I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people on YouTube calling themselves Marxist Leninists, like the 40-year-old virgin. What's his name? What's that guy? The audiobook guy.
Socialism for all.
Socialism for all. Socialism for all. Yeah. The guy who's doing audiobooks because he's really desperately trying to get pussy, like really desperately, by the way. Anyway, this guy,
Doesn't have any.
huh?
He doesn't have any.
No, he's got a pussy hat on. He's like, he's ready. Incel red. Hey, ladies, I'm not an incel. I'm socialism for. Anyway, we're not going to get into it.
He just has to
He's
stop waxing his
he's one of the
chest.
good ladies. He's one of the good guys. All right. You can just tell from his voice. Anyway, people like this call themselves Marxist Leninists, but Leninism 101 is that imperialism is the primary contradiction. Your stance on geopolitics, your stance on the imperialist system, the one that exists, not an ideal, you know, oh, this is imperialism because you're not a communist state. It's like that. No, imperialism is an objectively existing system. That system is U.S. hegemony, U.S. dollar hegemony, which Michael Hudson, he calls it super imperialism, right? It's a very specific system, right? And your stance on that, everything is downstream from that, in my opinion.
And they have the audacity to sit there and call us national chauvinists and right opportunists and all these different things where
National Bolsheviks,
it's
you name it.
exactly, it's one of those cases where it's just pure projection because their position is, I want a little bit more comfort. I want to be able to take body parts uh, out of me if I want to, and if I identify as such or whatever the case might be. I want that comfort. I want the little crumbs that I can get while being with the Democrats or whatever the case might be, even if it means supporting the vanguard of imperialism abroad. And that's the essence of right opportunism, of national chauvinism. Give me some crumbs and I'll give the thumbs up to you to go bomb and fuck over all of our brothers and sisters and comrades and workers and oppressed people around the world.
Carlos, bro, if I want to dismember my children, I want to extend that dismemberment of children to other children. I'll dismember them if they
Exactly.
don't want it, and then once I impose it, I'll dismember them again. That's the kind of world that we have with these liberal fucks.
You have a lot of those insane liberals who, call themselves the left, which is amazing. But, on a more positive note, I noticed that the war also did elevate a lot of Americans' political consciousness. When I was first making videos about the Russia-Ukraine issue, which is one of the first times we got banned on TikTok, but a lot of people were skeptical. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. And I tell you what, a lot of opinions have changed. People have come back to me and said, I see now what you were saying, about this being a NATO proxy war and, these basic facts about what's going on. So it kind of drew dividing lines and then also elevated a lot of people's consciousness, including people who are within MAGA. And, I even saw that in my own life. Some MAGA coach told me once, like, I'm starting to think that America's the bad guys and Russia are the good guys over there. And I'm like, yeah, kind of like, but that was an opinion that he wouldn't have come to if all this didn't go down in the way that it did.
Also, this was not really part of the topic, but I actually feel like it's like a huge elephant in the room. It's like the October 7th did actually really also change things, and I hope it at least led people to a point that were wrong about the Ukraine war to finally open their eyes and be like, this is the reality of the NATO killing war machine. If you don't think Israel is NATO, I got a what do they say? I got
A
a
bridge
boat
to
to
tell
sell you.
you.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. I got a bridge to sell you. Yeah, because it is. You look at the planes that Israel uses. You look at its who it collaborate. I mean, the last 10-day war, they were working with the British. They were working with the Germans. They were working with NATO. So yeah, Israel is like de facto part of NATO. Okay,
Mhm.
And this
and
is what one of the things that we've been saying for a long time. They've said it explicitly in
Yeah.
Ukraine. We want to be like Israel.
We want to be a
That's why
big
that's what
Israel.
was central.
The
Yeah.
Right?
Atlantic Council said that shit. A
Yeah.
military industrial complex mouthpiece.
and
And that's why people that sided with the Palestinians after October 7th, I did see quite a few of them flip on the issue of Ukraine after that. Because then they can begin to see the patterns. But there's still a few cuckoo for Cocoa Puff people that have the Ukrainian flag and the Palestinian one. But
and they also have
quite a few
They
people have
also
flipped.
have the Jolani Daesh flag as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But look, I mean, this is how I
Israel's
see
gonna
it.
fall after they come to power. Israel's falling next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You didn't know? It's going to
Yeah.
help expedite
It's
the fall of
no,
Israel.
but look, what I was gonna say is that I do think that people should take note of something. All right, there's a lot of like liberal left people that when October 7th happened, they condemned
Mhm.
Hamas. Right, they did, and then and as the months and the years went by, they
Condemn
kind of
Hamas?
yeah. Now I didn't. No.
Mhm.
Hold on, we're on YouTube. It's okay.
We
Anyway,
commend.
so no.
Oh
It's
no, we
a
don't.
joke.
We don't.
It's a joke.
No.
It's a joke. We're just
Mhm.
let's move forward. Right. What I'm trying to say is that
Dialectic.
you need to understand something. Those people eventually came around to a pro-Palestinian position. Right. Eventually, it took them education. It took them witnessing the crimes and the horrific war and stuff. Right. But those of us that were, you know, those of us that were 100% all in on 22 for Putin, those of us that were like ride or die for Russia, when that happened, the millisecond it happened, we had our position and it hasn't changed since then. Okay. So it's like, put that into perspective. A lot of your favorite left liberal, whatever, were very nuanced. Hassan Piker believed in the two-state solution. Okay. A lot of them were so nuanced about the Palestinian conflict and they rushed to condemn October 7th. Okay. And then later they changed their mind because empirical reality they had to see something they never knew about before. We knew and we didn't hesitate. We had no hesitation. So this is, you got to understand, I feel like I'm so bitter and salty about it. I want an apology from these people. I don't know about you guys.
We got to make those apology forms that a
I would
populist.
like an apology. Right. I would, because I remember how much I was hounded and attacked and oh my God, it was horrible. I was the worst person on earth. They were calling for me to be killed. They were calling for assassinations of all pro-Russian. If you were a pro-Russia propagandist, you were no longer human. You like straight up didn't exist anymore. And it's
I'll tell you,
like,
I'll tell you one thing. History absolved us.
absolutely,
History
absolutely.
absolved us. We don't even need an apology. History absolved us for the sole fact that we were right about Syria, we were right about Ukraine, we were right about the Zionist entity, and we will continue to be right because we have an understanding of the logic, the history, the structure, and the dynamics of the world because of our ideology. We know how things work.
Absolutely. And it's like, look, people ask, like, what's so unique about the ACP? And it's like, we have this extremely principled foreign policy view and stance, but we also combine that with a very bold, like very promising domestic political position rooted in organizing drayage truckers and this whole strategy of just beginning from below and rejecting the entire hegemony and like building a new source of authority, political authority. And like we are still rooted in this country, in the working class of this country. And but you need to understand this is it's a global grid. That's what it is. It's like a global grid system, right? When there's a disturbance anywhere, everywhere else feels it. When there's a division in one part of this grid, that division is felt and it reverberates everywhere else. It's one interlocked, like interrelated global system, right? And if you want to have a consistent, like, socialist position domestically or working class position domestically, you absolutely need to be responsive to, the hot spots. You need to know what the correct line and the correct position is because this is one system. It's like the same system that's fucking over the drayage workers, the same exact one. That's the same one that spread banderism in Ukraine and is terrorizing the people in Gaza right now. It's the same exact system. It's one global hegemony. And not to ramble, but it's like a lot of people don't get that. They somehow either don't care about what's going on overseas, which most people fine. I mean, most people are concerned with whatever they got to get done, but it's like a lot of people have this idea that you can be a Democrat, you can be a socialist at home, and you can be pro US hegemony abroad, but every time your fucking candidate's getting fucked over, like Bernie or something, you're like, oh my God, this is so horrible. Like they're gonna bitch and cry. And it's like, it's the same shit, the same thing that's preventing even like the most benign reforms in the system to like slightly give the people here something. That's the same shit that has you supporting Ukraine and Zelensky. Like the same thing that's blocking you from getting healthcare is the same shit that blocked Americans like me and all of us here from being able to show solidarity with Russia. It's the same fucking system.
And that's one of the things that's very special and specific to our narrative as the ACP and even the media conglomerates that came together and also formed the ACP before that. I mean, what was the first event that we did together? The IFA, Institute for a Free America event. What was the slogan? Free America to free Palestine. Because we understand that when they win, we win, and when they lose, we lose. It's one system. It's divided in two in the same way that we got the Pete Seeger, which side are you on within the nation? You have the capitalist, the worker, and you have to pick a side. You can't be neutral on a moving train there. When it comes to global politics, it's the imperialist system, and you have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. And if you think you're picking the one side in one area and then another side in another, you're just being inconsistent. You're just collapsing yourself into the dominant side, into the side of the imperial hegemon.
So I guess to segue into I don't know, is there anything else on Russia US peace talks in Alaska we should know about, Chris? I know that you are a confirmed CIA agent. You
That's
you have all the
again,
inside
I got all
information.
the inside details. Let me call
It's
Langley.
and
Well, let me ask this, Chris, because I haven't been following it too closely, but do you have a feel for how this is being felt in with regular MAGA people? Because they've been extremely disappointed, first with the bombing of Iran, then with the Epstein files. That I think was for many the straw that broke the camel's back. In how do you think these recent developments with Russia and Alaska have shaped the trajectory that has seemed to be continuously divorcing a significant chunk of MAGA people from Trump?
I think MAGA people overall are happy that this is happening, and are happy to see, at least a warming of relations between Russia and the United States. I think that what happens in the coming days will shape that narrative going forward and those feelings going forward. If there's not tangible results and it ends up being a situation where Trump might get sort of siloed into a Lindsey Graham type position of, oh, okay, Putin, he's the big aggressor and, you need to arm Ukraine. That's going to be a big problem. And you're going to see a massive rift. We've seen a rift with
yeah.
Israel, Palestine. We've seen a rift with Iran. And I can foresee an upcoming rift with with Russia if it does not hold, and if the United States begins to backtrack on some of the bigger goals for peace and negotiations. And I think that that's the big fear coming out of today. The meeting was shorter, the dinner was canceled. People are kind of wondering what's going to happen, because once he gets the ear of the Europeans and Zelensky, and those people get the ears of our politicians, that whole cycle continues. And
And
let's be serious. I just want to mention before Haz jumps in, when we were in Iraq together, the people in the region love Putin. They call him Abu Ali. And so I think that you also have to realize that the Zionist lobby, okay, they have, relations with the Russia, but they also see Russia in as an aggressor in a way, because they see Russia as supporting some of these other groups that are either hostile or attacking outright the Zionist entity, or defending themselves from the Zionist entity. So I think that you're going to also see some Zionists who have, by the way, been very open about this on even Russian media, saying that you're next to Putin and to the Kremlin. You might see some of them come out of the backwoods to say we need to continue to support Ukraine. Don't forget, Zelensky is part of the tribe, and that it all it's just the reality. It's just the reality that these things are interconnected. The grids, they are working their magic, and
no,
it's
I
not
mean,
just
okay, to put that in more politically correct terms, there are extensive relationships between the Zionist entity in Ukraine and
absolutely.
Zelensky, and absolutely, because a lot of
How could
Israelis
it
are
be a
you're
fascist?
Ukrainians, and also look to
Fascist.
further, a lot of Israelis are from Russia as well, and they
Yes.
tend to lean toward the direction of Russians that are kind of skeptical or dissident toward the system, and that's where that's a whole alignment across Eastern Europe and in Ukraine. It's like how the Russian neo Nazis moved to Ukraine
It's
um,
yeah.
to fight in solidarity. Also the Russian liberals who like Zelensky. It's an axis of anti-Russian.
And the
Uh,
Chechens who are jihadists against
right,
Russia.
right, right, right. Exactly, exactly. So, so anyway, Chris. Also, Chris, I want to get into something because this has been. I talked to you about this in Iraq, but we need to have like a Desmond Tutu Truth and Reconciliation Commission about you, because another video went viral about you, The Economist, where you were the owner of the Epstein Black Book, and a lot of people are super baffled by it. And then I clicked on it. I was on my couch and I watched it. And then you just show up. It says collector of strange things. It says collector of strange things next to your name. So what does that mean? What are you, a collector of strange things?
I mean, I'm a collector. I'm like an antiquities guy. I like, collecting all sorts of stuff. But no, I didn't collect the Epstein Black Book. It's not like I just, found it at a yard sale and picked it up and brought it home. No, no. Of course, I'm an independent investigative journalist. I'm a member of the Federation of International Journalists. So, it's just a reality that I was searching for it online, ended up stumbling upon this eBay listing while I was looking for the first book, which was released by Nick Bryant. I found it. The woman actually said that she tried to contact Rachel Maddow, New York Times, all these people, and everyone thought she was a Looney Tune. And so I was like, for 425 bucks, she was asking for 500. I talked her down. Of course, Bazaar, we gotta do our style. Uh, and I included express shipping, USPS. But I talked her down and I said, you know what? It's an investment I'm willing to make, because if it's fake, fuck it. Amanda's gonna kill me and my family's gonna absolutely, shellac me for buying something as stupid as that. But what happened? It ended up being authentic. And so I said, sometimes you can believe crazy people online, who are kind of artsy fartsy kind of people in New York City in the 90s, and stumbled upon this book on Fifth Avenue, and it ended up being real.
No,
You
I
know,
could tell you were how happy and excited you were, because in the video where it said Chris Helali, collector of strange things. You look like a kid on Christmas morning with a present. You're like, your eyes were like you were like, you like struck gold, you know?
Well, really, I
So,
mean, think about it. Like,
yeah.
how rare is it?
What
And
are
of
the
course,
odds? Yeah.
what are the, and people are gonna say, "Oh, he's CIA, he's Mossad, he's part of the deep state." I mean, uh, these kind of things happen. This fucking kid with a metal detector went and found a Roman buried treasure of worth
That's why,
millions.
look, it's the same shit with you and with Jackson, where it's like shit actually does happen straight
Of
up.
course,
It's a small world. If you know where to look, it's a small fucking world, right?
absolutely
And
is.
like there's shit where I'm like, fuck, if people like knew this coincidence, people would be like, no way that's a coincidence. Like that's
Oh
got to
no,
be like some insider shit.
no, no.
And it,
Listen,
but
like,
it, but it is, it's not that it's a coincidence. It's more like if you know where to look and if you look hard enough and if you do it enough, because a lot of people don't know this about Chris. Chris does a lot to like explore potential, like, oh, could you, I know how you like move, you know, when something's on the news, when people are talking about something, you are looking for where no one is looking and you're trying to find an opportunity there, you know, always. So like it
absolutely.
doesn't surprise me, but it's like I don't know, I thought it was really funny when they said collector.
Well, Jackson can tell you we were in Yemen, right? So we go to this hospital that had been bombed the night
Mm.
before. You could still smell like the sulfur in the air, the kind of the chemicals in the air. And so my ass is in a suit and I'm just standing there, and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna start looking in the rubble. And of course the Yemenis are like, no, 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 Habibi, Habibi. And what did I end up find? Oh, here's the tip of the warhead. Oh, here's a piece of
What?
the ID number. So I started to take pictures. Of course, Pepe Escobar runs to me and he's like, he found stuff, you know? And of course, like I'm interested. And everyone's like, oh no, it's dangerous. There could be unexploded ordnance. I'm like, fuck that. Let's have a good time. We're here. I mean, like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna photo op of this. So I started jumping in there. I got all covered in like dust and sand and whatever. But I was like digging through rubble, finding all these metal shards. I ended up coming up with like a whole handful of like metal shards and pieces which had like serial numbers, had codes, had like made in USA type shit. And I ended up taking pictures, sent it to Max Blumenthal, sent it to a bunch of people. We got to identify all the different arms producers. The Yemenis weren't even doing this. They were like, yeah, we collected and we put it in a box. And I'm like, well, okay, well, share the boxes with me. We'll look it up. We'll look up the boxes. It's all here. We'll put together a case. We'll take them to the Hague. They're like, yeah, yeah, we're just trying to survive at this point, you know? So
Yeah.
I want to say that, like, I think that, if somebody has that kind of curiosity, it's right there in front of you. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you just have to
Yeah.
look for it.
Yeah, I love that video. I love that Economist video. It's just
You know, it's very funny.
anyway.
When they came to my house, they're like, "What other strange things do you have?" I don't know if they put it in. I don't know if they put it in the second video. I haven't seen the second video, but they definitely didn't put it in the first video because I'm like, I have an official collection of DPRK medals and orders that belong to a professor who studied the DPRK and went to Pyongyang and was friends with Kim Jong-il. And they're like, "What?" And I like pull
Chris,
out these medals.
what you should do next time is just invite one of our old acquaintances, our strange acquaintances, and like invite them over from dinner. And like, what else do you have that's strange? And then you'll just be like, this guy, this person.
That's
So,
it. That's
yeah.
it.
Um,
Oh
yeah.
man.
So speaking of strange things, the DSA guys, what's going on? What's going on with the DSA? They had what was it precisely? Because Eddie, I know you know. What was it? It was their
National
convention.
Convention, I think, and they invited me to go, which was strange. I wasn't able
Our
to make it, but
NSA.
Oh my God, I was in Iraq. I would have gone. I swear I would have gone. You should have gone. Why didn't you go?
I had something going on and I didn't have a furry suit, and that was a required
You
dress code.
didn't have a tail?
No.
Yeah.
You had to wear a mask. There's still a pandemic going on.
You know what's weird? Like, speaking of that guy, Socialism for All, you know, he's like a wacky, like, long COVID truther or something, like he's like, guys, the pandemic's still going on and it's being covered up. And like, he's still like on that, like, even now. What is up with that? It's like this thing where like there's people that are like on the extreme liberal left where they have these strange trauma and delusions about COVID and they're like, yeah, it's like you're gonna die if you don't wear a mask outside right now in 25. Like, and it's like a conspiracy. It's like QAnon, but for them.
Yeah,
I
it's
know a
sick.
They
dude
have
on.
more faith in established institutions than the established institutions have in
Right,
themselves.
right.
Yeah.
And that sums up their whole politics too,
Aren't
actually.
they like leftists? They're supposed to be critical of big pharma, big ag, all these big monopolies. In fact, they're like, no, no, we can put our complete trust in this major pharmaceutical company that also, of course, has Nazi origins and funding and who knows what.
They hate the CIA for not doing its job well enough. They fucking hate like they hate CNN for like not being faithful enough to its own propaganda. That's literally sums up leftism in America.
They,
It's like they
they
hate
hate
liberalism for not being faithful enough to its own ideology, and that's literally it.
they hate the billionaires. They hate Elon Musk because he doesn't donate vaccines like Bill Gates does. It's
Yeah,
like, what are
yeah.
you doing for this African village? Come on, give some vaccines.
It's so weird. Isn't it weird how they have this thing where like they have like a switch in their mind where they're like, this is right wing reactionary coded and this is like one of us coded. Like the minute you start sounding like a conspiracy theorist or you talk about banks or something, they're like, oh, so there's like a switch that went off in their head, like, oh my God, you're like on the right, you're right wing.
You're
Everything's
anti-Semitic.
a dog whistle. Everything is a dog whistle.
Everything's like yeah, it's like a weird dog whistle where they're like, oh, you're partaking in this ancient forbidden. It's like you're talking orcish. It's like the tongue of Sauron or some shit. You know, it's like this
Pick up a sleep whistle.
forbidden evil language you're speaking, and it like they code you as like, oh, you're right wing, you're on the right. And like I always like try to like confront these people with like, have you ever thought critically about like what these terms you're using mean?
Nope.
If you
Like,
watch too, like bread tube creators like ContraPoints and stuff, which I guess kind of connects to DSA because a lot of them support DSA, like that's what they were pushing in their content for years. Like everyone's a crypto fascist and they
Mhm.
signal it to each other in secret by doing the OK sign and by using these secret code words.
woo!
And now we see like with the
My
real
kids do it. My
resurgence of
kids are like this.
fascism,
Like,
right?
"Oh!"
The secret fascist
Super
code.
fascist.
This
Um,
Nazbol hand gestures.
right, but like real fascists, like we're seeing now, they'll just tell you, like, yeah, I hate Jews. Like they're
We
not
get canceled by them. They cancel us for not being anti-Semitic enough. They
Mhm.
We're
they
Judeo-Bolsheviks. What are you talking about?
yeah, they cancel us. They're like, "Oh, you don't like Hitler? You need to be shamed. Shame on you." Like it's
The
like
Bolshevik
it's
Revolution was a Jewish revolution to kill Christians.
So is the Chinese, by the way.
Hey,
Mao's a Jew.
yeah, I already nuked that on the other night. I was talking about it. It was like that's all Gen X bullshit. The whole Judeo Bolshevism thing. Because Chris, the whole thing, I don't know if it'll make sense to you. It's like Gen X is like was raised like libertarian in a way, right?
Yeah,
Where
of course.
they're like, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna bang my head against the wall until I bleed, and that's freedom. Like it's not like the hippies. It's more like hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Kurt Cobain and like heavy thrash metal. I don't fucking know. Anyway, like they're still like they have that core of like liberalism that's like at the core of their outlook, right? So like they couldn't really shake off the like anti-fascism that they were raised with. They were like, oh yeah, like Hitler's this authoritarian that tells you what to do and you know tries to control you. And they're like, you know, that's like fundamentally ingrained in their psyche. It's an archetype, the Hitler boogeyman. Like they need it, right? So the reason they love this Judeo-Bolshevism thing, because they can, it's like their way of like replacing Hitler with the Jewish Hitler, like Yagoda or some shit, you know? And it's like that way it keeps that like psychological archetype of like the father fascist who's like trying to stop them from drinking Monster Energy and shit and like doing BMX extreme sports. And like Eddie, I know you talked to Jake Shields and we don't hate him, but I'm gonna call him out. Like Jake Shields is like that's literally explains his entire worldview, you know,
yep.
in my opinion.
No,
It's the object cause
absolutely.
of desire. I think that's one of Zizek's most brilliant areas where he starts talking about how anti-Semitism functions. And when he relates it to the Pokemon Go game. It's absolutely hilarious, but it's also how ACP ops operate because we're the object cause of desire for them. We're that thing that gets added onto the world so that everything else obtains a level of coherence. And it's anti-Semitism, but without the specific content of it. It's the same
It's
form.
funny. Putin compared that to Russiagate as well
Mm,
as a joke. Everyone started laughing, but it
yep,
is kind of
yep.
true. It's like, oh, Russia is behind all of every problem in the U.S. politics. Uh, anyway, anyway, but he should have talked about Zelensky like Chris. No, anyway. Anyway, okay, so speaking of tribes, the DSA, the DSA though, really, the
The
DSA.
Michael Harrington tribe.
Yeah, Michael Harrington. He was a Hitler supporter? No, I don't know. Michael Harrington. So why the fuck do you what the hell is wrong with you? You
I
He's
have
was
losing
this.
the
reading some of his
enemy.
bullshit from the middle of the century. You got to learn what the hell your enemy thought.
So I love this idea. I keep saying this. I love this idea where it's like America is unredeemable because of its founding. It is tainted and it is absolutely irredeemable, even though it was 300 years ago. But Michael Harrington's DSA, which was literally founded to like literally repudiate Leninism and all actual existing socialist states. Oh no, don't. That was like 20 years ago. We can reform DSA into a Leninist party. Don't worry. What is up with that line of thinking?
Oh, and it was literally propped up by State Department agencies as well. He
No, but
admits,
Black Red Guard will tell you that doesn't matter because he was in the past,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
the Black Red Guard, the guy who talks about cracker control all the time, he is Chris. He's a Maoist. He's a black
Yeah.
Maoist who
Like I know
claims
he is.
he's.
I met him in person before.
You
That's
had
This
the
week's
unfortunate.
that bummer.
you actually met him in person.
I met him in person at the anti-NATO protests. Not was it last summer or the summer? No, the summer before. And yeah, very,
Why was
very.
he at an anti-NATO protest? Isn't he pro-NATO?
Listen, he was at an anti-NATO protest because it was called by UNAC and like Workers' World, and he was there sort of like to see what was going on.
Hmm.
And at the time, he was still trying to like find a home for himself, political home. We wasn't yet in DSA at that point. And interacting with him, I mean, he was kind of like awkward, classic kind of like, the awkwardness that we feel with a lot of left people in the US, quote unquote. But I mean, he was generally just kind of like on the margins, kind of with his hat and button-up shirt and shorts, kind of like walking
That
around.
guy, I don't know if he got blackmailed or if he's like, or he got like in trouble with the feds and I don't know what it is, but it's like, how the hell did someone fall off so hard where he joined DSA? Like look, this guy was always like a Sakai freak and I never could break bread with him over anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do somewhat respect if there's a consistency, if you have principles, if you're consistent with them. But if you're a Maoist that's grandstanding about settlers and all this shit and you fucking joined, is like the whole thing just to piss us off? Like the
No,
only common denominator is like being our enemy. That's like what is he next? He's gonna fucking become a Nazi now? He's gonna be a Maoist DSA Hitlerite? He's gonna be
I'll
like
tell you.
ally with Truth Teller and talk about Yogoda and shit.
You
Like
know, you know what the sad thing is? A person like him, they don't actually want to win. They want to keep going on to the losing side and they don't want to put in the effort to win. So ACP is the only vehicle for revolution in this country right now. And that's a fact. That's why we're stopped. I have a question. Why isn't he stopped at the border? Why aren't a lot of other members stopped at the border like that? We don't hear anything about
He
these
only
other
gets stopped on Dr. Phil after he bombs the Saber swing set.
he gets stopped at the playground, not at the border.
No, and when you think about that, you have to wonder like, and not only that, he's carrying water for the Zionist members of DSA now. He's saying, oh no, we can't
But how
take
I don't get it. How is this guy like a hardcore Maoist that was attacking us for being
not.
Pat Socks? We're Pat Socks. He's in the fucking Michael Harrington's DSA. What? They're
Oh, he
literally
did a
like,
hit piece. He did a hit piece on me, calling me a revisionist theoretician
A
for not
revisionist.
that's what I'm
citing Mao
saying.
and for being a dingus and all this other bullshit.
What
And he
the
turns
fuck?
around and joins fucking DSA.
And these idiots will make the argument, which I love. They'll be like, DSA, it's like the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party. It's like social democracy
What?
before. And I'm like, hold up. First of all, okay, social democracy was not anti-communist at that time. There was no communism. Okay, that's all there was. Okay.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
Once there was a communist international, once Leninism becomes synthesized by Stalin, you're not going to retread and retrace the steps of how that came to be. It's over. Social democracy is done. Second of all, democratic socialism isn't even comparable to historical social democracy because it was created expressly and explicitly in contradistinction to Leninism and actually existing socialist states. It's like saying you're going to do entryism into the fucking Nazi party, basically.
Which
Like,
is what carried the positive kernels of the Second International and the best parts of social democracy.
what would you say?
To go back to social democracy, as if
Yeah,
social democracy doesn't naturally evolve into the Third International, into Marxism, Leninism.
it
The
already
best
did.
of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it already did. Yeah. And like Democrat, it seems like they have this like nebulous similarity of how the name sounds. So he's such a fucking idiot. And people who think like him they're like, oh, don't worry. We're just in the sock dem stage. Any tenant now, it's going to be the April thesis. It's like, listen, this is, this is like a fundamentally misguided understanding. Democratic socialism is not the equivalent to pre-war social democracy. Democratic socialism is it's like an explicitly manufactured ideology from the Cold War, anti-communist manufactured ideology from the Cold War. That's what
It's
it
cutting
is.
edge anti-communism. It's
It's
anti-communism in one of its most highest and
It
successful
is,
forms.
yeah, it is an explicitly, and it's for the it's weaponized Cold War anti-communism. That's what the DSA is. It's not the heydays of fucking Karl Kautsky's Second International or whatever.
I'll be honest with you, some of their heroes who were not, I would argue, democratic socialists or whatever. Think about, for example, Olof Palme, the former prime minister of Sweden.
Yeah,
How does he get assassinated? By some right-wing apartheid freak who supported South Africa, who guns him down in Sweden. And that's the most likely cause of it. Like literally, fascists killed him. Why? Because he wasn't a freak like Black Red Guard over here and the other ones who were like, oh, we can't. What about the Zionists? He openly supported the Palestinians. He openly hugged and supported Fidel. He was open to a lot of these leaders, and they
yeah.
gunned them down. You don't see any of those people getting gunned down. You see them being propped up.
Here's the
Because
truth about Black Red Guard. I think ideologically it's all like post hoc. I think it comes down to the personal. If you know about that guy's history in St. Louis, he's been kicked out of every single organization.
And
And
don't listen,
every organization. This is all he's got left. He lives with his mom. He needs friends. That's really what it is.
but it's like the reason I'm picking on him specifically is because it's like it's the epitome of like a grandstanding ultra left whatever. And look, are we ultra left? No, but I would say we're pretty Maoist adjacent in a lot of ways. I mean, we are. I mean, we are. I mean, we are like anti-revisionist, like hardcore communist Stalinists. Like we uphold Mao and you know what's interesting about us is that like we uphold Deng Xiaoping thought, but we don't repudiate the Cultural Revolution entirely. So it's like it's a pretty unique thing. And also there's also rumors and whispers about other controversial views about that time period in Asia, but we won't even allude to those at all. But you want to talk about who's like a real hardcore left wing?
There it is! Mao
Yeah.
Zedong!
Bro, I wish the fucking Germans didn't ruin the red arm guard for us because these are so dope.
No, listen. It's not only theirs.
Maybe we'll take it
It belongs
back.
to us too.
Take it
belongs
back.
to us too. They wear it in Korea. They wear it in China.
I want us to do
Dude.
the Solid Snake headbands.
Only Solid Snake?
What do you no, not the Japanese.
No, not the Japanese. I'm talking about our people.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Everyone's
I got you. Yeah. We should have our own for sure. We should definitely have our own
I'm ready.
headbands. That'd be sick. But no, anyway, as I was saying, um DSA in the big 2025. Now, you know what gets me? It's like, so Carl's like this whole purity fetish thing, which we get lambasted. Like we'll fight. Well, there'll be one guy in ACP, like one guy. No, not even in ACP, in the infrared Discord, who's not even an ACP member, who will like, I don't know, he'll be like some guy in like Finland who like says some misogynist joke or something, right? ACP hates women because of a fucking guy in like, in Europe who's in infrared, okay, in the Discord. But and like the whole party is impure and tainted by that. The whole party is pure and untainted by one individual can taint the whole fucking thing. This is ACP.
You can't crack a joke?
Yeah. But look, this is what gets better. Half of the DSA are Zionists. Half of them are Zionists. And before they make the argument, oh, you're misunderstanding. Let me talk about their Zionist resolution, because there's a lot of lies going around about this. There were two main resolutions about Zionism. So on one of them, they're like resolution for one Palestinian state, which is overwhelmingly rejected. I think it was like 78% or something, right? But here's the thing. The argument they're making is that, well, no, the resolution said a secular democratic, and they said we don't want to impose terms and conditions. So we are supposed to believe that all 78% of those people were doing so because we're rejecting that because they didn't want to impose conditions on a Palestinian state. But tell me why in another resolution, which to be fair passed, but only by about a slim margin, 40 or 45, something like that, near 50% of people voted to reject having the DSA adopt anti-Zionism officially in its ideology. Half of the votes were Zionist, pro-Zionist votes. So you're telling me not one of those, the math doesn't add up. If 78% of people are rejecting one Palestinian state, at least, let's say 20% of them are doing so because they actually reject one Palestinian state under any form.
It goes back, Parenti already talked about this very clearly. The same people that will sit there with a straight face and tell you the Soviet Union is too impure, China is too impure, DPRK is too impure, Cuba is too impure, will turn around and say, we have to support the Democrats. It's the lesser of two evils. We need nuance. We need to see them through their contradictions, exploit the good parts, leave behind the bad parts. It's that level of hypocrisy, because at the core of it, you have to ask, what is the principal contradiction for these people? What is the principle? And for a lot of them, it comes right back down to identity politics. It's not imperialism as it is for us. It's identity politics.
You know what?
The Democrats. It's the left wing of the Democrats.
I don't even think it's that, Carlos, because I think about this a lot, and it goes back to the orcish language thing, where it's like, bro, it's not even identity politics. Even when you say it's identity politics, it's presuming there's like some like principled political position that for them is like fundamental, but it's not. For them, what's fundamental is like keeping this like pure, insulated, like fake corporate culture where like nobody can tell even a fucking joke. Like, let's say I, in a principled way, on a political level, supported all of the LGBT politics and like all of the crazy like culture war politics policy points. Like I supported the political policies, but I also cracked like extremely insensitive jokes that are literally just
central. That's central to what cancel culture is. It's not a concern with a deeper sense of authenticity. You're not able to separate, once you have cancel culture and the dominance of identity politics, what someone says as a joke and then what they actually mean. That's why you can't look for the history of the facts of how they've behaved in one area to see that as a contrast to a slippage of the tongue or to a joke made. So that's central to identity politics. What matters is the very base, superficial level of what's being said. And as soon as you fuck up, it doesn't matter if you have a track record that's completely against that.
I think
it's what's said.
I think it's a lot more though, because it's like it's I love catching these like strange psychological slips where it's like you could not even be doing anything problematic, but there is a vibe you may give off where they're like, "Oh, this is reactionary coded. This is fascist coded. This is right wing." And it's like something really fundamentally unconscious makes them uncomfortable about like language or behavior or just a way of living that look, Carlos, you're going to understand this, but this might be too like, out there for a lot of people, but I really think it is something Zizek talked about once, which is like the radical fear of the neighbor in terms of them uh, um like giving expression to too much jouissance, too much like raw, unregulated jouissance is what invokes the neighbor, like this radical other. And like Zizek will be like, sometimes liberals will be like, yes, I love black people, like I'm cool with them because in their head they're thinking of like Black Red Guard, like a nerd with glasses or some shit, right? But they, you go to like the hood or something, and like everybody's dancing, and they're getting down, and there's like, and then they get really uncomfortable,
Pretty much, yeah.
It's
and
outside
it's
my
like,
house right now.
right, and it's like, but like the reason for that is like it has to do with you have to kind of get psychoanalytic. Like it's got something to do with like pure, unregulated or unmediated jouissance, and that makes people uncomfortable that are like bourgeois. It makes them uncomfortable because like they always have to have a filter 24/7 in everything they do. Like I've seen Hassan Piker like crash out on people before that like didn't do anything of any problematic political content, but like maybe they're telling a joke wrong, or maybe they're just like, or this is my favorite one, people are not being politically conscious enough. Like you could just literally be chilling and like being totally authentic, but because you're not paying tithes to a type of political consciousness, he will like read into that and be like, oh, the absence of like political consciousness is itself a political, like not being political is political, like it's one of their favorite things that they like saying. But that's just a way to cope with, in my view, like a radical dimension of human authenticity that is unmediated and like not regulated by ideals or concepts. And I think it's rooted in bourgeois idealism, frankly. It's just bourgeois
Formalism.
culture.
It's
Carlos,
formalism, that which doesn't take the appropriate forms.
Mhm.
yeah. Do you remember when I first started on TikTok and I was paying deference to like the identity politics and the things like that, and it didn't matter. These like wealthy, mostly upper middle class girls on TikTok just started attacking me. They said that exercising was fascism. They said that I was promoting fascist gender norms by promoting exercise. They started looking through my followers and saying that I was following too many men and not enough people of color, like finding things. And I swear to God, it's just because I looked like what they thought of as a Trump supporter. I looked like someone in the out group. And they were gonna find something to cancel me for, no matter how hard I tried to sanitize myself. And you know, that's when eventually a lot of people just say fuck it, and leave. But
Eddie,
uh,
ironically, oh, sorry, go ahead,
Good,
Chris.
good, good.
I was going to say really quick, Eddie, ironically, it all goes back to the glasses question. Because when you think about it, what I'm talking about here, this filter, it's the spectacles. It's like they can't just live and be like, yo, I'm just living. They have to be like, let me put my spectacles on before I do anything. Like before I tell a joke, let me make sure my spectacles, make sure it's politically correct. Like that's what it is. They just got to put their spectacles on for everything. Anyway,
And
go
I
ahead,
just
Chris. Sorry.
I just want to say that, you when you were talking about before, I really think it's true. They are willing to sacrifice tens of thousands of children in Gaza so that they can have condoms and tampons in their bathrooms, that they can have a gender neutral bathroom, that they can have the comforts of like the most degenerate society that they want. And it's really true. Like they want to have spaces that are unheard of anywhere else in the world. And actually, deep down, they want those people in Gaza to suffer because they're not as progressive and open-minded and accepting as we are. Though if
Look at
you,
the reaction. Look at the
yeah,
reaction out of Burkina Faso with the gay
Yeah.
bill. I did a video about that the other day, and half of the comments were leftists on TikTok coping. Oh, but the gay bill, but the gay bill. I mean, who gives a fuck? You have this guy that's uniting all of Africa, basically, throwing off French neocolonialism, and you're gonna sit there and talk about a fucking gay bill? What are you, stupid?
I don't want to ramble, but it's like, look, this is the essence of the matter. I don't want to get more into psychobabble, but it's like in the like the new left, the counterculture, you had like this rigid Oedipal structure of like, heterosexual norms, traditional family structure, patriarchy. And the idea was like, oh, that's like rigid and that's like constraining, and we're gonna just run around naked and be free. And that's like the wild, untamed like thing, you know? But now it's the opposite. You understand? Now, if you are the reason, I feel like the reason for them sexual politics are so important is because they have devised a system for the regulation and control of human existence at the most fundamental level, which is pertaining to matters of like reproduction and like how are people reproduced, not just in terms of like biologically, but like how are they shaped? Like how is their behavior and their character shaped? This is what family really does, honestly. It's like what values are you raised with and instilled with? And like they find this to be like a too natural and like unautonomous process, like a runaway process, and they're trying to slow it down and capture it and control it, right? So it's like for them there is something like inherently um bad about heteronormativity because it's not even a structure at this point. It's not even like an ideology. It's this bad habit human beings have, and it's unmediated, it's unreflexive, it's unconscious, and they want to like put glasses on it, basically. The rainbow colored glasses.
It's a colonial habit that is at odds with the real essence of human beings, which can be defined in accordance with a tribe of 30 people they found somewhere in the planet that don't have those heteronormative norms. And that's what humans are actually like. It's that simple.
And you know what I don't like about this decolonial approach? I'm gonna fucking nuke them. Okay? Do they want to nuke right now? I'll just nuke them. Let's not talk about this decolonial notion of because what about how children were being treated in a lot of these tribes and so-called pre-contact whatever societies? Let's not romanticize anything. Okay? Modernity is good in one of the okay. One of the ways modernity is good, like just unquestionably a good thing. Age of consent, like a hard, like red line that just says I don't. You know how people always make these stupid arguments like, well, is 17 and a half? It's like no, it's a strict, like unconditional thing.
Good dogmatism.
That's
We don't
like
debate that.
an
Yeah.
unyield. That's extremely modern. And that's a good thing actually. In my view. So like I feel like a lot of people who like, try to make these arguments when they're talking, especially I love it when they're talking about Africa. They're like, oh, Ibrahim Traore, he's still brainwashed. That this is just the legacy of US imperialism and colonialism. The true anti-imperialists are gonna come. It's like, listen, you're living in a delusion. Okay, let's accept reality first of all before we talk about anything. Let's understand clearly what the situation is. The situation is the only people oftentimes in countries like Burkina Faso who are going to have the cultural politics you want are the ones funded by US NGOs.
The
They
NGOs. Yeah.
are US NGOs,
or the ones trained at US or European universities.
And that's a fact. And it's like you can draw any conclusion you want. I won't be dogmatic, but just understand what the facts are and just can we stop the delusion, please?
Eddie, are you still getting those people in the comments to because your videos go mega viral
No,
on
bro,
Africa
that's
and
what
the
I was
Sahel.
gonna say. Why is your TikTok audience so much worse than mine?
It's
I cleared
unbearable.
those people out years ago. I don't
Oh,
get any of
it's
that shit.
unbearable.
Everyone's just like onward
80% of it on
Africa.
the comments is hate.
I think that
It's
there's
so
like a
stupid.
radical bourgeois derangement taking hold among like PMC people that are getting declassed. I have a crazy prediction to segue this in. I think there's going to be a merger between the Nick Fuentes people and the DSA people. I think they're coalescing on the same politics at this point.
Really?
I think so. It's one of the predictions I've
Can,
always held.
can you
And
explain?
that's where fascism's going to come from. Like that's where the
Nick
National
Fuentes liked
Socialism.
he said he liked the cat boy phase.
Well, put shelve that for a second, but it's like he is kind of warm to Zohran and AOC even a lot of the times. And I think that that merger is going to be where the National Socialism in America comes from, the fascism. It's going to be like Raytheon socialism. And, then the question is like, well, why is it so anti Zionist and anti Israel superficially? And then I guess my answer to that would be I don't think it is. I think it's just kind of superficially anti Netanyahu. But if there's a liberal guy in charge of Israel, I don't think they have an issue, you know? Um, which,
It's a gay,
won't.
it's a gay haven.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that I think such a merger will potentially happen. I mean, this is why DSA, I said these guys are bad news. You got to watch out for them because there is this like millennial politics where they're like, yeah, we believe in the superiority of like Western civilization. We want healthcare and we're critical of corporations. And like that's about as far as they're going to go. Right. And I don't think there's anything about that that's like inherently incompatible with fascism. I think that these people are going to be like next generation anti-Russian, anti-Chinese warmongers, really. And you know what? Maybe they could even say Putin is Jewish or something, and Xi Jinping is
Well,
Jewish.
that's
I
the
don't know.
ideology of the European Union.
Yeah,
It's that
sure.
form of imperialist, fascistic social
That's
democracy.
it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that you notice about Nick Fuentes and the DSA people is that they're both trying to impose European politics on the USA, you know? And like they that's the whole thing. It's like this millennial coded Europe worship that they're like America's all wrong because we're not like Europe. We need to be more like Europe. But anyway, okay, speaking of Nick Fuentes, I guess we have to mention him because he's the man of the hour for the past few weeks on the internet, on the algorithm. He's blown up. We can't deny it. He's gotten huge. Um, and it's a generational war he's waging versus Candace Owens and Tucker. And look, I'll talk. Okay, I want to just start this right off the bat and talk about why I'm skeptical about a lot of the narratives against Fuentes about this specific issue. Not that I'm dismissing them as inherently wrong or whatever, but it's like I feel like they missed the point because a lot of people say, "Oh, he's a Fed. Um, he's this, he's that, he's." They're missing the point of why he is he's becoming popular because of this because he's like there is a lot of pent up generational resentment by zoomers and young people toward these like legacy gatekeepers and that has been going on for a long time but like Tucker and Candace are pretty old and in a sense out of touch and they are seen as gatekeepers in the sense that like their whole career was built off of the ties that they had to legacy media. Then they got red pilled more recently, right? Or red pilled or whatever, quote unquote. And like there's still that hang up though, that they're like, wait a second. The only reason you're popular in the first place is because you were with legacy media. Like if you had to start out from scratch with nothing, you would not have gotten where you
It
were.
was their primitive accumulation,
Yeah, sure.
the
Yeah, like that.
foundation.
Exactly. And like I feel like that is what's going on. And like first and foremost, that's what's going on. Like there is a generational, like fundamental break and shift that's going on. And that's why I'm not you have to be careful because like there's the content of the position. Like, okay, in terms of content, Tucker and Candace says a lot of stupid shit. Like the Judeo bull. It's like fucking stupid brain rot, right? Gen X brain rot. But I mean, look, her and Tucker have been coming around to decent foreign policy positions. They are pretty open-minded, on that kind of stuff. So in terms of the content, it's kind of like strange that there's a big war going on, and they're the big enemy. But you have to be careful about the form. You don't want to appear, and I don't want to fucking appear like I'm a coping boomer or something who's like trying to push back against a new form of socialization that is like based in Gen Z and because that's kind of my community as well. My community, the infrared community, I mean. That's like definitely a new generation and a new form of socialization. Memes, it's like you either get it or you don't. It's not like not everything is like super explicit. A lot of the times you just kind of have to get it. It's all vibe based and shit like that. So it's like I find myself kind of not interested in getting involved, but maybe that's not wise. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
No, I agree. I think actually Glenn Greenwald had a good breakdown about it, where he's like, there's a lot of personal resentment there with Fuentes, for the fact that he could have had a career in conservative media, but he was completely blackballed for criticizing Israel, and he was still able to build this massive audience even with all that suppression. Whereas Candace and Tucker are just kind of coming around to criticizing Israel now. And they had these long careers in legacy media, millions of dollars, and I think Fuentes is super resentful of that. But I don't know if Tucker and Candace really know what they're dealing with. As despicable as Fuentes' ideology is, it's impossible to deny that he's articulate and intelligent, and he knows how to use the platforms of communication that exist today. It's like I talked about it in the sense of that Marshall McLuhan theory that there's a sort of generational gap that forms because of the development of technology. And Fuentes has these massive communities online. He understands that online politics can, in fact, change and influence real life politics. And they're kind of fighting him on his battleground. And when he says that I've been here the whole time criticizing Israel, you just got here. I mean, there's truth to that. So yeah, I don't see any reason to get involved with that. We have our own, way of explaining how our ideology differs from that of the JQers. But I don't, see any reason to insert myself in this right wing sort of generational infighting, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, I mean, brilliantly put, honestly, Eddie. I think that's really the crux of it. And I don't like the derangement syndrome around the kid, frankly, because I feel like there is a cope about the generational shift that has nothing to do with politics. And there's a resentment from the other side as well, which I've never enjoyed. But like, look, there's a reason the guy will never debate me. There's a reason the guy won't ever debate us. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to point out a pattern that I find very curious. He is so hesitant to critique the left ever. Not even just our left, but I mean, he attacks Jackson, he attacks us. We don't forget these things. But he won't even attack like Piker or Zohran or AOC. He won't attack socialism. He doesn't really indulge in the Judeo-Bolshevism thing. I think that's also because it's a generational divide there. And um, he's even said positive things about Stalin before, if you remember. Um, Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I think that kind of person is ill-equipped to even like we are so new in comparison to that is what I'm trying to say. Like we are the cutting edge in my view because the extent of that type of politics is really just like okay, these are like a bunch of like legacy boomers or whatever who are upholding the system in a specific type of way, which is the Israel lobby and Zionism. And that is exposing a lot of contradictions, but like who's actually taking it to its logical conclusion? We are. Because we're undoing the whole fucking thing. Because what is the boomer system? It's the fucking Cold War system. It's literally the anti-communist regime apparatus that was created to like destroy, dismantle, suppress communism and like have an empire in a bipolar world versus the Soviet Union and China. So it's like we are actually like in a way more extreme in the direction of like how much we are subverting the system and like things like that. And I feel like that's why they don't want confrontation with us. Um,
One of the things we were talking about there is that um, what seems to be going on with this generational divide in the right is something akin to a corollary of what we see on the so-called left and how these old established leftist organizations react to us. Because at a basic level, it's never really about content, about our positions, hardly about our positions. It's almost always about what they see as a certain theatrics that has been attached to it, specifically coming from the infrared side of things. And it's always that inability to cope with the fact of digital media, how that changes people's uh, ways of receiving information and thinking, and how that presents us with a new avenue of waging the war of positions, of waging the war of ideas, which isn't just a battle of ideas, as Haz, says very frequently. It happens at an even more intuitive level of vibe, of emotions, and etc. So it's kind of the same thing, and that's why it's dangerous to collapse the critique of what Fuentes is and what he represents into the same form that the older generation on the right is doing it, because that means us taking up the same critique of him that on the left they take of us. And we can't do that. We
yep.
need to critique Fuentes in the ways in which we have been critiquing him, without getting into the reduction and condemnation of the generational form in which it takes, which
And
is a lot
and
of the superficial character of what they're
and
saying
let's be
against us.
clear, there's a lot of people that are won over to his shit, frankly. A lot of
Yep.
normies from our generation, straight up. So it's like, what should our attitude be toward it? How should we conduct ourselves? I feel like we should kind of be, in a generational sense, accelerationists, in a generational sense. Like, let's accelerate this divide in the sense of like, let's bring out its real contradictions and take this fucking thing to its conclusion. Instead of hitting the brakes, it's like we're taking it farther. Okay, you want to talk about the Israel lobby and Zionism and like what is it, Con Inc. Okay, why don't we fucking go farther though? Like and talk about fucking the entire like financial system that we have in place, the whole Cold War apparatus that was created to destroy and repress a very specific historical tradition, and like let's take it to its conclusion. And also, I feel like what we're witnessing is look. I know Chris, you want to say something. I'm just going to wrap this up real quick. We're witnessing the breakdown of bourgeois civilization, just in general, right? And like a lot of this like new meme shit and like brain rot, whatever, like this is the rise of a new type, in my view, um, a culture of a new mode of production, like straight up, a new civilization that's just taking form spontaneously, right? It's like we straight up have to be for the culture. We have to tap into that. We have to be more effective when it comes to that. And like if we're losing ground to people like this who are like very much not trustworthy, very much, misleading people, absolutely. We have to critique ourselves most of all because we're not fucking doing enough to be in with the culture and resonate with the consciousness. But anyway, Chris, I know you want to say something.
No, no, I agree with that. And what I want to say is that the reason why Nick has so much play now and so much popularity is because people are searching for something, especially the younger generation. They are searching for answers, right? Because the old established traditions, especially in the United States and in Western Europe, have crumbled on their own weight and inadequacy. And so they're searching for the alternative. Now, it's very easy to go down that hole and say, okay, everything is JQ and it's all their fault and they're governing, in like a shadow clique and, 15 or 16 million people actually govern all affairs in our world. It's just not reality. It's far more complex. It's far more structural. It's more nuanced. And so we really are competing also for hearts and minds ultimately. And the thing that always is something that is understood by everyone, including our enemies, is that to be a communist, to be a Marxist-Leninist, is to be the highest grade thinker, is to be someone who understands philosophy and the true essence of reality at another stage. And so it's very easy to say it's that, it's those 12 tribes and they run the whole damn show. And that's just not the case. That's
Yeah,
just not
no,
the
it's
case.
it's really it's really not. I mean, Chris, you're somebody who's seen the behind the scenes, I feel like, about how things work in a lot of ways, and I've seen some of it, and yeah, I mean, it's not is, but sometimes you sound like a boomer when you say it. Not you, but me or anyone who says
Oh,
it.
no, for
Like
sure.
you can sound like a boomer just pointing out the truth because the form in which you're saying it is just fucking uncool. It's just like
Correct.
not, yeah. But like that, it is the truth. The truth is, and look, honestly, where our biggest strength is in the positive. Because like, look, I'll say this. I feel like a lot of people are just waking up to the fact that like, okay, I've been fed lies. This like whole system's bullshit. Like, yeah, Israel like is like controls our politicians and shit with Epstein, all of this other stuff, whatever. And it's like, and there's like this generational whatever, but it's like, okay, what next? That's where we shine. Okay. Because what Catholic integralism, okay, and racial segregation or like that's not fucking viable in the US. It's not gonna fucking happen. It's fucking stupid, right? So like that's our biggest strength is leaning into like the fact that we actually have a solution. We have not like a solution in the sense like snap our fingers and fix everything, but more like we are a community. And even I'm gonna fucking say some crazy shit. We're like a proto civilization. We're barbarians. We're the barbarians, but we barbarians carry the seeds of civilizations, right? We are like a barbaric
Bingo.
tribe. We are a barbaric tribe that like actually represents the future because like you come to an ACP gathering, you got people from all races and everyone's telling racist jokes. Can I say that? Because it's the truth.
We're chill.
It's the
As long
truth.
as
Like
as long as
AC,
Eddie doesn't say it because he's white, I think the public considers it okay.
I
you
don't
get, but
make
look,
those
it's
jokes.
like you got an Arab, you got a Mexican, Carl, Cuban. Sorry, you got Chris, who's a monstrosity. He's a Greek,
Arabia.
Persian. What's going on? It's a total like disaster. And then you got Eddie, who is white. And the only thing that's different, like we just don't make white people like pay taxes for being white. Oh, you're white. You're that's a negative if you're white. It's like, but like we are very. I'm just gonna be like straight up, full up front. We are extremely politically incorrect. Like our internal party culture is like, yeah, we tell all the worst jokes in the world, like and fucking cry about it.
It's
We
American
do.
culture.
We
That's it.
fucking do. We do. We do.
Americans are vulgar. Look at our comedy. Look at
And
Family Guy.
I feel
All this
like
other shit.
if our jokes were leaked, it's more brutal than the right wing that's on X.
Yeah.
The right wing jokes on X are way because you know why our jokes are like way more politically incorrect? Because they're jokes. These these guys are serious about that shit. So like there's an extent to which they're not going to be laughing about that because they're like actually, I do think whites and blacks need to be segregated, and the white race, like they're actually their face will get like tense, and they'll like actually be fucking serious about it. Whereas like there's no limit to the fucking jokes we can tell and like the humor we can have because like ultimately, like the shit that we are serious about, we are like we are like uniting the tribes. We are
And it helps
uniting.
to undermine that tension because
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
take something to the
absolutely.
point
It
of a
creates a
joke and
fucking
mocking
like
it,
solidarity.
yep.
Like I that's what I'm saying. We are creating a tribe. We're creating like a new race.
Yeah.
When you
Oh,
think
yeah.
about it, look, the Mongols, you didn't have to be Mongol blood to join their tribe. You just had to be fucking down with the business, okay? You just had to be ride or die. If you were getting on a horse with a sword and you're like, okay, come with us, you're with us. Like that's us. That's who we are, you know? And it's like the most American thing ever, by the way, because they're trying to bring this fucking stupid, petty European nationalism to our
Yep.
country where like everyone has to look the same and have the same fucking, physical features and shit and even cultural upbringing. And it's like, no, we're creating a fucking new culture from scratch. And it's the ACP.
And
Like
and
that
let's
is
be
so fucking rare, by the way. Go ahead, Chris.
and let's be honest, like the many of us were involved in the left, quote unquote, the left trademark, in our upbringings in one capacity or another. It's like a Handmaid's Tale. It's like that's the real totalitarianism. Like it felt like the Inquisition most of the time. Like you had to like do penance if like somebody said the wrong word.
Eddie, how dare you?
Had
I'm
to pay
sorry.
reparations. You remember the lady that asked you to pay reparations for the emotional labor
Yeah,
that
she
you
these
put, you
these
put her through?
TikTok girls canceled me for something. I think for saying that what's going on in Xinjiang isn't a genocide. They canceled me for that. And then they said that I needed to Venmo them and other white TikTokers needed to be Venmoing them for the emotional labor that it took in order to cancel me on Twitter.
Yeah, so it's
You know
like
what? They belong in a work camp. That's where they belong, in my
A lot of
opinion.
these
so
people are the most racist people in the world too. Like the
I
Absolutely.
feel
like
like
the
look,
reason
real racism is when you cannot break bread
right.
with another person from another race in the sense of like you can't tell racist jokes with them. That's real racism.
You
Because
can
real
make
racism is like when you have this like inability to look, it's just like you know what's crazy is like ACP has a brotherhood, sisterhood culture. You know what I
Yeah.
mean by that? Like we do not, nobody makes another person feel uncomfortable because of their race. We
Mhm.
all are part of one tribe, you know?
Right.
And, that's like the most anti-racist thing in the world, actually,
yeah,
when
you
you
can
think
only
about
make
it.
those jokes because racism is laughable to everyone in the ACP. And this is, I agree, our biggest advantage over the Fuentes types and why they don't know how to deal with us because they are serious about it and take their ideology to its ultimate conclusion. Well, they shit on Netanyahu all the time because it's a Jewish nationalist project, and they shit on Israel. It's like, well,
Right.
you want to do the same thing, but with whites. You want, a white
Exactly.
ethno state where everybody else gets murdered and bombed and shit. Who
Eddie,
wants that?
is it the fact that we actually, like the left overall, pushed young people to be this way
A hundred
because what
Yes.
percent.
they do
A
in
hundred
our
percent.
spaces, whites there, people of color there, women there, queer people there. And it was like you had to go to an island. So eventually, what did people do? And I saw this for the past two
Yeah,
decades.
yeah.
People
Absolutely.
literally said, fuck that. If those,
Yep.
if people of color can have their culture, we want to reclaim our culture, quote unquote.
Every they're the only culture that preserves like actual like being chill is us. Because like
Yes,
Yep.
is all the people that were herded into the far right, which they were herded. They were literally like thrown there. It's absolutely true. But even when they're there, they are not chill, bro. They're like their faces are becoming sour and they're like there's a level of like uncomfortable there. Like there's a cringe that there's there as well, you know? Um, and we're
And
the
there's
only
still some type
ones.
of jokes. There's still some type
We're
of jokes
we
you can't
let me
say
let me
no.
put it this way: we're the only ones that preserve the American way.
Yeah.
yep,
You know what I mean? Like we are the only fucking ones that do that.
it's
To what
true.
And
Chris was getting at, that is why that leftist wokeism was explicitly reactionary. Because in
Absolutely.
America, those jokes signified the death of something because it became mockable. And when you're the group that says, no, we're taking all of this serious, you give it life again. Something that's dying and you're mocking it, you give it life again. And it leads to the modern phenomena where there's people actually taking shit like this seriously and not from the leftist
and
perspective, but from the other one.
and everyone needs to understand something clearly. 90% of the zeitgeist for the far right is because their shit is funny. To be honest, the anti-Semitism, okay, is it deplorable? Yeah. But I would be lying to you if I said I haven't laughed at some of that shit. And I'm gonna just go ahead and fucking say that, all right?
We
Some
all
of the some of the memes, some of the memes are fucking hilarious. You know
Well,
they are.
Alex,
And that
when it
for
comes,
most people, that's all it takes to start actually like wanting to identify with it. But I'm still optimistic because I think most people are still human where they're like, okay, look, I love laughing, but like, do I actually seriously hate Jewish people racially? Do I actually hate people for their race? Do I actually like seriously want to do harm to my fellow man because they're of a different whatever, whether it's race or something else? Like, no, I think most people would be like, no, that's fucked up, you know.
yeah,
Um,
I
But
agree.
like the comedy factor like was is really what did it for like 95% of people. And just being able to joke about shit like that.
They're
Um,
explicit about it.
yeah,
The
it's
right
just the
is what's
truth.
defending
It's
comedy, what's defending people's right to laugh and tell jokes and all this shit.
It reminds me of one of the fresh and fit guys who was like getting into the JQ and the right wing stuff, and then they went into one of the JQer spaces and they were all like, "Get out of here! You're black. We hate you." He's like, "Oh shit, they're really serious about this, like segregation
yeah.
shit."
Yeah. Anyway, no, look, I'll we're kind of going over the time, but I guess I'll kind of try to conclude it this way. And if you guys also want to, that's all right. But look, we are taking note of what's going on in the world, and as a party, I feel like for the past year we did have an imposter syndrome in a way where like we were just trying to like simulate the formalism of like the older generations in a lot of ways. And like I have come around to the perspective myself increasingly that like it's not viable. Like we are in a new age. We are of a new generation. There is that generational gap that Eddie's talking about from Marshall McLuhan of new information age technologies are creating new gaps between the generations. And it's like we have to be at the cutting edge. And that can't be forced institutionally. We can't like make a mandate to enforce that. What we have to do is have like and we can think about it like a reform and opening up. We need to fucking just give people the breathing room to like actually be real. Okay. Cause that's the most important thing is being real, And, and if you can maintain that fine line between keeping the discipline of our party, that militant type of discipline we have, that respect for our collective organization, the respect for the collective over the individual, the interests of the party overall, right? Over even your own narrow interests. We keep that ethos and combine it with a new openness to like, let's actually have a party culture. Let's let one flourish. Let's actually like let's not make this party a pure sacrifice. Let's also make it something people are in because it's like a better way of just inhabiting reality, if that makes sense, and interacting with the world. And I think that's the direction we're gonna start going in and being in.
And look, one of the things we always tell the cadre, don't be afraid to take initiative. If there's a road that hasn't been tread, don't be afraid to tread it yourself. And I think that's where we're at as a party as well. Uh, Cutting edge, we're not using that hyperbolically. Nobody's doing this. Formal institutions, the smarter ones are trying to do it. You see the White House trying to meme, and it's like
There's a
idiotic
lag.
2005 Little Wayne music on the bar. It doesn't work, but the fact that they're trying to do that symbolizes that some of the smarter, old established institutions are trying to adjust to the new age. And we'd be foolish to not try to do that ourselves and to do it in a way that preserves the
I'd even
communist ethos.
I'd even go farther is because when they do it, there's a lag. Because if an
Yep,
institution tries to do
you
it,
could tell.
it's already
Yep.
failed, right? We need to have such a level of risk and initiative where like, yeah, we are being this. Like we are fully about it. We are fucking willing to like look ridiculous and absurd a little bit. And it's like that's a risk and who fucking cares what we need to like have a mentality where it's like who fucking cares what anyone thinks? Because what the fuck do you know? You know what I mean? Like, who is anyone to judge us at this point? Like, look at the White House. Even the fucking boomers are giving way. So, like, who is anyone to judge us on fucking anything? If we just be honest about who we are, I feel like that's all we need to do. Because it's like you can judge us about this and that, but at the end of the day, there's no more like status and reputation system that's intact. There's no more system of accreditation that has any functional value. Increasingly, at least in the US, it's increasingly decaying, right? So it's like all you can judge us for really is like on the merits of what we actually fucking are. Like what kind of like vibe do we give? And like what kind of people are we if you chill with us, if you roll with us, if you um if you join us, like what would it be like? What kind of experience is that? And like I feel like that's what we have to tap into communicating the most instead of trying to fucking like appease perceptions and like look good for and please everyone because it's not fucking possible, honestly.
I would say, if you think back to the Samuel Beckett quote, try again, fail better. That's where we're at, I think, as overall in terms of our movement. And at this point, let's take risks. The Communist Party of Greece, we disagree with them on a lot of issues, but one thing that they've done, and it's not even of their own doing, the Greek society has done this, is they've taken them and they've made a meme out of them, and especially the leader Koutsoupas and a lot of the fun things that they do, and they've exponentially grown the party's favorability amongst the general public because they've turned it into a big meme. So like there's Lubin culture in Greece, and you'll just see them like you'll see the Greek communist leader like taking shots of ouzo and like dancing crazy. They make a meme out of it and they'll do it like over a soundtrack and over like attacking the right wing and attacking the ruling party and things like that. That's something that they would do, but we can do it ourselves. Like we are of the gen like they're all boomers. They have no clue what they're doing. And everyone's like, what is this Lubin? That I find myself on. We are of that generation. We can do it. We can do it. We understand the culture. We are part of that culture. We can tap into that culture. And I think we need to take risks. And I think that we need to understand that we're in a new generation, we're in a new age, and we should be willing to do that. And that's why I have a TikTok now and an Instagram and all me
You're
to use
blowing
all these
up.
tools. Let's go, let's go.
So,
But I think that that's something that the party is going to see a lot more of. I think the world is going to see a lot more of it from us. And I think that the institutional left that continues to berate us and attack us, at this point, we don't care. We are here to stay. We're happy to be here. You can keep calling us feds and Nazbols and whatever the hell else. But
okay, I'm gonna give an order on that final note to the community. There's a meme on TikTok. I shared it to Carlos a lot of times. That Chinese guy who's like getting interviewed. He goes, "We don't care," and they do those hype edits of China. We need to get that thing of the guy saying "We don't care," and that's our new vibe. Like
that's our new vibe.
we don't
Don't
care.
care. Don't
Yeah,
care.
that's like anyway. If there's anything else, no.
Good.
All right, guys. Boost it, comment, like, whatever. We'll see you guys next week.